Sometimes the message stays unopened for hours, even days, and it is not always because they forgot. Sometimes they saw your name instantly, felt something shift inside, and decided not to let you in. That unread badge can reveal more psychology than most people realize, and soon you will understand why. Because leaving a message unopened on purpose is rarely about the message itself, it is about regulation. It can be power, avoidance, overwhelm, resentment, anxiety, self-protection, or a quiet attempt to control timing. From the outside, it looks passive. Underneath, the nervous system may be negotiating safety, pressure, and worth. Some people leave messages unopened because opening one creates pressure they do not feel ready to meet. The unread message preserves distance. Once it is opened, expectation begins and can feel heavier than conversation. If they are already drained, even a simple hello can feel like one more thing taking something. So they keep it sealed, not because you matter less, but because their bandwidth feels painfully limited. Psychology suggests avoidance often grows where response feels loaded with consequences, especially for people who overthink impressions. They do not just see a text. They imagine tone, timing, obligation, and misunderstanding all at once. Leaving it unopened becomes a pause button, a tiny shield against making the wrong move too soon. This is common in people who learned early that small mistakes could trigger criticism, conflict, or withdrawal. When you grow up monitoring reactions closely, communication stops feeling casual and starts feeling like performance sometimes. An unopened message lets them delay that performance. It gives them time to become who they prefer. Sometimes that means calmer, sometimes cooler, sometimes less needy, less emotional, less exposed than they currently feel. That is why unread messages can be less about ignoring others and more about managing identity internally. People with fragile self-worth often fear being seen in unfinished emotional states, especially during ordinary conversations. So instead of answering honestly from pressure, sadness, irritation, or confusion, they delay until they feel composed. And yes, sometimes it is strategic. Not cruel, not manipulative, always, but definitely strategic in subtle ways. Opening your message immediately can feel like giving away access, and some people equate access with vulnerability. If they reply quickly, they worry they will seem available, eager, affected, or easier to influence emotionally. So the unread message becomes a boundary marker, a silent way of saying, I decide the pace. This happens a lot in people who secretly associate responsiveness with weakness, even if they never admit it. Maybe they were once available and felt taken for granted. Maybe fast replies made them feel exposed. Now they protect themselves with delay, because delay feels stronger than openness when trust is still uncertain. But not everyone does this from power. Some do it from anxiety that looks calm on screen. They see your message preview, feel a spike in their chest, and avoid opening it to postpone. Not the conversation exactly, the feeling, the racing thoughts, the pressure to say something correct and likable. People with social anxiety often delay contact not because they are indifferent, but because interaction feels magnified. A simple reply becomes a draft in their head, edited 10 times before the message is opened. That delay can look cold, but internally it may feel like emotional traffic with no clear exit. Then there is resentment, which creates a very different kind of unread message psychology altogether. Sometimes people leave a message unopened because they do not want to reward a pattern anymore today. Maybe you only text when you need something. Maybe every conversation feels one-sided, rushed, or careless. In that case, leaving it unopened is not confusion. It is a quiet protest they never verbalize. This is why unread messages can carry hidden emotion far beyond the words you actually send out. The message becomes a symbol of history, pressure, imbalance, or feelings they would rather not name yet. And sometimes the unread message is used for self-control, especially when attraction makes someone feel exposed. If they like you, opening too fast may reveal how much your attention affects them emotionally inside. So they delay, pretending distance while secretly trying to steady themselves before your presence changes their mood. This is not always game playing. Sometimes it is emotional containment disguised as indifference from the outside. They want to respond well, not transparently. They want to look settled before they admit feeling something. Other people keep messages unopened because they need to feel chosen before they engage at all emotionally. If your text follows long silence, inconsistency, or mixed signals, opening it can reactivate old insecurity instantly. So they wait, hoping your effort will grow first, because investment feels safer when it seems earned. Unopened messages can become tests, even when the person would never admit they are testing you subtly. Not because they are evil, usually because uncertainty makes them crave proof before they risk openness again. Here's the deeper pattern. Unread messages often protect the sender less than they protect the receiver. The person leaving it closed is trying to control what entering your emotional world might stir up. Because opening a message is not just seeing words, it is allowing impact, and impact feels risky. For some, that risk is tiny. For others, it touches abandonment, shame, pressure, or fear of exposure. That is why two people can receive the same message and react in completely different ways inside. One opens it and answers casually. The other stares at the notification and feels their stomach tighten. Same phone, same interface, completely different inner history shaping what that tiny blue bubble means to them. People who leave messages unopened on purpose are often trying to buy emotional time, not literal time. They may answer in 30 seconds once they finally open it, and that reveals the real issue. The delay was never about composing words. It was about reaching a state where contact felt tolerable. This matters because people often personalize unread messages too quickly and create painful stories from silence alone. They assume rejection, disrespect, boredom, or hidden dislike when the real explanation may be much messier inside. Messy does not always mean harmless, but it does mean the behavior usually carries more hidden context. Still, context should not become excuse. Psychology can explain a behavior without making it automatically healthy either. If someone repeatedly leaves your messages unopened to maintain confusion, distance, or control, that reveals something too. Clarity matters, patterns matter. A single unread message is nothing. A repeated pattern becomes communication by itself. People reveal their relationship with intimacy through timing, consistency, and the ambiguity they leave behind for others. An unopened message can say, "I am overwhelmed." It can also quietly say, "I want the advantage." It can say, "I am scared of seeming needy." It can say, "I do not trust this." It can say, "I need space to regulate." It can say, "I want you wondering longer tonight." That is why context, frequency, and the emotional tone around the person matter more than one notification. If you are the one who does this, it does not automatically make you toxic or cold. It may mean your nervous system has linked access with pressure, and pressure with losing yourself again. That is not a character flaw. It is often a protective habit built under emotional conditions somewhere. You're not broken because replies feel heavy. You may simply be carrying unprocessed social tension inside. And the first practical shift is to notice the feeling before the avoidance becomes automatic behavior again. When you see the notification, ask yourself one honest question. What exactly am I delaying right now? Is it the person, the pressure, the guilt, the uncertainty, or the version of yourself texting requires? That question changes everything because it moves the problem from screen into awareness where choice becomes possible. Maybe you need 10 calm breaths, not another evening hiding behind unread messages and unfinished emotional tension. A second shift is to separate response speed from self-worth, because quick does not mean weak. Some people delay because they think slower responses look stronger, cooler, or more emotionally independent than eagerness. But healthy confidence does not need manufactured mystery. It can answer warmly without feeling smaller inside first. Deliberate distance sometimes feels powerful only because directness was once punished or mocked in your life earlier. So if unread messages make you feel in control, ask whether control is replacing honest communication lately. A third shift is learning to send smaller truths instead of disappearing until you feel fully ready. You do not need the perfect tone. Sometimes saying, "I saw this and will reply later," heals. That kind of honesty protects connection without forcing instant intimacy, and it lowers pressure on both sides. It also retrains your nervous system to see communication as manageable instead of something dangerous to enter. If you are dealing with someone who leaves messages unopened, watch patterns before inventing stories in private. One unread message means little. Repeated unread messages mixed with warmth, distance, and inconsistency reveal the truth. Do they eventually show up with clarity, or do they keep you emotionally suspended and guessing instead? Because confusion is not always accidental. Sometimes confusion is the relationship dynamic they feel most comfortable maintaining. People repeat what their inner world can tolerate, even when it quietly creates pain around them regularly. Someone who fears emotional demand may keep leaving messages closed until closeness feels optional instead of engulfing. Someone who craves control may do the same thing, but with a very different emotional agenda underneath. That is why behavior alone never tells the whole story. You need pattern, tone, and aftermath too. Do they reopen connection with care, or reopen it only when they want attention, comfort, or control? That difference reveals whether unread messages are protective walls, immature habits, or calculated ways of managing emotion. The relieving truth is this: another person's unread message does not measure your value, lovability, or significance. It may trigger insecurity, but the trigger is not the same thing as the whole truth, though. You do not become less.